Hi everyone, Xin Chao. My name is Kurt Moddeman, and I am an industry manager at Google. Unfortunately, I have to join the Vietnam Marketing Association's summit virtually because I'm based in Singapore, and COVID has restricted our travel overseas. But I'm really pleased and honored to be invited to the Vietnam Marketing Summit put on by the Vietnam Marketing Association, and excited to share with you a little bit of Google's magic, and hopefully you can take something away from this in terms of how you want to learn about digital marketing if you are a university student, or how you can use search and some Google tools to accelerate your business if you're in the working world or you're just starting off your business. So I'll take you through a presentation called our 2020 Year in Search presentation. What I really like about the Year in Search and just looking at aggregated search behavior in general is that it can really give you a pretty clear view into what's top of mind and what's happening within a given market. When we do research in general, or when researchers do things, they really look at reported behavior and observed behavior. Reported behavior is people answering things like surveys on how they feel. And observed behavior is seeing what people actually do, what people do in their natural environment, and what search statistics, or what Google search statistics give us is it gives us a really powerful view into how people are thinking, how people are acting, and how people are behaving in a given point in time or within a given market. So I'm really excited to share with you Vietnam's Year in Search 2020. So you should, after this presentation, I hope you get a view on some of the things that are top of mind for Vietnamese consumers, some of the trends that we are seeing, just so that you're a bit more educated in terms of what Google sees that's happening in Vietnam, and what trends that you should be aware of if you're just entering the workforce, if you're starting a business, if you work for a large brand as well, just something to keep your eye on. So a little bit about myself. My role within Google is I'm an industry manager specifically for the financial services vertical in Vietnam. So I work with Vietnamese banks, insurers, lending and investment companies, as well as payment providers like e-wallets. And I work with them on their Google solutions, just to help them make the most out of the Google partnership with their brands. So usually I'm back and forth between Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi and Singapore, but with COVID, obviously COVID's provided some challenges, which is why I have to do this presentation virtually. But what we'll see is in 2020 has really been affected by COVID and has brought a number of trends to the surface that I think are really worth pointing out. The first trend is the rise of the digital rural consumer. Over the past few years, like internet and smartphone penetration in Vietnam has really increased quite rapidly. And we're seeing a lot more consumers outside of key cities coming online and using internet platforms for their daily life. Our second major trend is really the on-demand economy. And really what we're talking about is looking at the trends of people doing business and making transactions at the tip of their fingers with their mobile device or with a laptop computer. The third is about the smart shopper, who now has more information at their fingertips than ever before, and they really make very intentional decisions. So we'll look at some of the trends that's affecting the smart shopper and how COVID has affected that. And lastly, the rise of the health conscious customer. With a global pandemic and with just some of the health challenges that have come, we've seen a big shift in user behavior to more health conscious buying, health conscious searching, and just health conscious behavior in general. So to kick things off, we'll first look at beyond the metro and what's happening in rural areas within Vietnam. So as many of you may already know, Vietnam is one of the fastest growing internet economies in Southeast Asia. But what does that translate to, and just how fast is it growing? Well, what we've seen is 7 out of 10 people in Vietnam are engaged internet users, and they spend on average 6.5 hours per day on the internet using services and products. So that's almost an entire workday being spent by a vast majority of the population spending time on the internet. So Vietnam is really a digitally connected country. If we go a bit deeper into who internet users are, it's no surprise to you that urban consumers spend more on the internet economy than rural. But one of the really interesting things is rural consumers' online spending is expected to grow twice as fast as the big cities over the next 5 years. And that's in large thanks to affordable smartphones and data plans that are coming online in rural areas, giving people first-time access to the internet and first-time access to being able to buy products and services online. So we know one of the things about rural audiences that we know is that online rural households are more valuable than households in rural areas that are not online or that are traditionally offline. So according to Kantar World Panel of Vietnam, online rural householders, have a younger age with bigger member size and a higher household income than their non-online peers. They also own more expensive appliances, and they tend to spend more on FMCG products and large consumer products than households and families in rural areas that are not online. We're also seeing a narrowing gap between urban and rural in search volume. So over 60% of searches on job and education, health, and beauty products come outside of Vietnam's 4 big cities. What this is really telling us is that consumers living in smaller cities are benefiting from having information, products, and services that they could never have accessed before the internet. So these audiences will be able to do online product research on their own without having to ask others. They'll be able to buy products online that are not available at nearby stores or at competitive prices. As such, in a study with Ipsos, we found that search is the most commonly used tool by rural consumers to make a purchase decision, and much more than traditional media and social media as well. So rural consumers are turning to Google search to find new ideas when they're not sure on a purchasing decision, or to discover unknown products or compare products and brands to validate their purchase decisions. Across key verticals such as apparel, consumer electronics, shopping, entertainment, food, job, and education, we're consistently seeing rural consumers using Google search as their number one information their number one information source. So it's not just for highly involved categories that require a lot of research. Rural consumers are also relying on Google search for all aspects of their lives, and some of the most basic aspects of their lives as well. So in summary, we know one of the key takeaways, I think, from this piece is that traditionally, when people think of Vietnam's emerging digital market and in digital landscape, they really think of the big urban centers. But what we're seeing at Google with the advent of affordable data packages and affordable smartphones, the rural consumer is quickly growing and catching up to the urban consumer, and is really a large consumer set that is coming online and making purchases and getting information digitally through the internet. So the second trend that we're seeing in 2020, and that really stands out to us here at Google, is the on-demand economy. Basically, young Vietnamese are moving forward to a lifestyle and a mindset where they feel empowered and entitled to getting services at the tip of their fingers. So basically, the mindset is changing to a logic such as, if I can get a taxi or food on demand, then why can't I get everything else on demand too? And we're noticing through search behaviors and what people are searching for that this mindset, this behavior is really starting to ring true. So let's look at delivery, for example. Vietnamese consumers are more demanding and choose their shopping channel with a big focus on convenience and speed. Consumers will lean more towards retailers or brands that offer product fulfillment without requiring them to step out of their house and go to a store. And it's not just any delivery that satisfies their needs. Products have to be received within a few hours, and that alone can sometimes be the difference of making a sale and losing out on a sale. Customers are experiencing convenience, but also immediacy, as in they want their products now. They don't want to wait for a long time. We also see consumers moving from traditional box stores where you would normally go in person to seeing if those box stores can fulfill their needs online. So for example, consumers have begun searching for online options for their favorite retailers such as Vidmart, Big C, and Co-op Mart. And these searches have doubled in a short amount of time, reflecting user behavior and user convenience to do things digitally as opposed to walking in store. Now, moving from goods, from your typical shopping and typical goods, we see at Google, we also see a huge rise in the demand and search for on-demand video platforms such as YouTube, Netflix. We've seen that searches for these have doubled. So I can relate to this, as I don't wait for TV shows to watch anymore, and I don't wait for prime time to come on, as I would just search for these shows to watch online whenever I want and whenever I have the time. And that's really the mindset of the young consumer. Millennials, Gen X, Gen Z, when they want to watch something, they want to watch something now. They don't necessarily want to wait for it to watch. And we really see that in terms of searches doubling for on-demand entertainment sources. Now, on the opposite end of entertainment, you have a really core functional need, which is managing money. And traditionally, a lot of people think about finance in a traditional lens, in the sense of working face-to-face with their banker, getting advice. But we actually see a lot of people moving away from face-to-face advice and turning to search into digital to learn more about managing their financial needs, especially during a time like COVID when finances are top of mind. So we've seen a huge increase in search interest across the board for pretty much all finance categories: debit and credit cards, insurance, and digital wallets. So people are actually taking the time to do intense research online when it comes to finance products. And these searches or this advice had previously been done kind of face-to-face in the branch, but it's now shifting to digital channels. We're also seeing a large shift towards online learning and online education. So as COVID became an increasing risk in Vietnam earlier this year, searches for how to learn online have intensified, and they've actually sustained themselves after lockdowns have been restricted, and people have continued their kind of day-to-day lives. This growth can be seen across the board for both kids and adult learning, covering anything from online education services to language learning and K-12 curriculum. So how businesses can respond to these consumer shifts can really determine whether or not they can survive or they can thrive in this change in user behavior. And one example of a company that really stepped out of its comfort zone and took advantage of these changes in consumer trends was Ondemand. So Ondemand is a mattress company that previously relied heavily on in-store traffic to allow customers to experience their mattress before purchasing. With a nationwide stay-at-home order due to COVID, Nam thought that they needed to bring something different in order to avoid experiencing a significant revenue loss. So what they found was that there was a rising search interest for hygiene services. And so they made a strategic pivot to create value add services such as mattress, sofa, and drapes cleaning. They marketed these services to collect leads, and then they actually used these services uh, to convert these customers into mattress sales. The extra service alone brought in a revenue uplift of 15%, and 20% of those leads coming in for those services turned into mattress sales. So embracing digital as a key channel is really key to responding to this change in trend. And it's interesting to see that a company as traditional as a mattress company was actually able to respond to these changes in behavior and use COVID as an opportunity to reinvent its business as opposed to falling behind. Now, the third trend that we're seeing is the rise of the smart shopper. In a research with Ipsos in May this year, we saw that 83% of Vietnamese spend more time researching products online before making a purchase. And that's the same is true with me. COVID-related financial problems means that Vietnamese want to make the best value and best decision for what they buy. And available information online helps them decide what brand and what product is best within their budget. And what we found is nearly 7 out of 10 people come to Google to perform research before they buy. Here you can see across key categories that we're seeing on average 62% of consumers do online research, while only 38% do offline research. Even for very low involvement categories like groceries, more than 50%, the majority, still do their research online. And the fact is that Vietnamese shoppers do not depend just on one platform. They're using a selection of multiple Google platforms to do research and to shop online. A common user journey would be they would search for a product information, but then they might watch a video of a product review or a comparison, and then search again for the price. And then following that, they'd even research and locate a store before making a purchase. So this intense online research and online shopping becomes even more critical during COVID, since shoppers want to maximize the value and minimize their time in store and the amount of time that they have to spend face-to-face interacting with others. So a key takeaway here is people are searching and people are buying much more online, but even when they're buying in store, they're using online channels to do their research. I mean, the classic stat that we like to talk about is in-store purchases in general across the globe are up, even though in-store traffic and time spent in-store is down. And the reason is because people are more empowered than ever to research outside of the store on digital channels, and then they come to the store making very informed decision. And that's a stat, and our research shows that definitely proves true. The last trend that I want to take you through that has been especially influenced by COVID is the rise of the health-conscious consumer. One clear indication that we see is actually not COVID related, but a concern about the environment around people, and especially the concern around pollution. Since the news about pollution levels in cities came out, we see a tremendous increase in search interest for monitoring levels of pollution, and even more on products that protect people from environmental factors like air purifiers or water filters. Vietnamese people are monitoring their health 24/7, and we've seen a huge boom in search for health wearables. I wear a health wearable myself, and almost every day I look to see how I slept, which is not very well recently because I just had a newborn child, as well as how many calories I've burnt and how my heart rate is doing. And people are amazed with the fact that technology can help them be their best self. And they want to track everything from steps to calories to heart rate to sleep, something that only doctors could tell you in the past. We're also seeing, we're also seeing a huge rise in people being conscious about what they're putting into their bodies and how they're nourishing their bodies. Search trends for healthy and organic products have significantly increased as people are trying to take their health into their own hands and build immunity and live their best lives, given some of the challenges and uncertainties that COVID, that pollution in the environment are facing them today. So some of the things that you can think about when you learn about these trends and when you consider them, I'd encourage you to think about how they affect your life, how they affect your career, how they affect your learning and where you want to go. So some of the questions to ask yourself is, how are you, if you're a marketer, how are you customizing your marketing to reach rural areas and to reach your kind of next batch of customers that might be outside of the big city? And how is your business using data and technology to enhance your product and channel capabilities to reach audiences? We know that consumers expect immediacy and they expect digital channels to be able to allow them to acquire products. Is your business or is your brand making it easy for users to acquire your products? Third is, are you meeting your customers in a discoverable and useful way along every step of their journey? We know that people aren't necessarily coming to the store without any information and asking a salesperson to basically sell to them. Oftentimes people are walking into the store and they've already made up their minds on what they want to buy and they're quite informed. Is your brand part of that journey and part of that education process? And if not, what's stopping you? Because we know that this is really important for Vietnamese consumers. And lastly, how are you creating awareness about your products and how are you educating customers about the wellness that your products bring to them? People want quality products and people want products that are good for them, and making sure that you're in that space and that you're communicating to that need, I think, is a really important thing for Vietnamese people to be aware of. Now, we've a lot of the compilation of this has been using data sources and kind of mining data that we look at in our back end, but you can actually look at your markets, at your areas of business, just by going onto Google Trends to see what's happening in your area of business and among your competitors and in your market by going to Google Trends. So what Google Trends allows you to do is a couple things. One is it allows you to monitor the health of your brand relative to your peers. Google Trends can show you kind of a comparison on how often people are searching your brand versus that of your competitors. And you can look at the trend line to see whether you're improving in market share, whether you're declining in market share, and whether some of your big marketing campaigns have resulted in increases in demand for your business and for your products with search. You can also see from where your users are searching. Going back to the rural insights that we were talking about, Google Trends allows you to understand where you're getting your most search and where you might be underpenetrated in search, and really allows you to understand where there is demand for your brand and where you might need to grow demand and spend a little time as well. Lastly, Google Trends can give you a quick look into what's top of mind for users and what's kind of what's new and exciting for them with top and rising queries. one of the stats that we like to share at Google is one in five searches on Google has never been searched before. So we're constantly seeing new information and new things coming to people are coming to Google with new questions that we've never seen before. And so top and rising queries are often changing, and just staying ahead of the curve and being there with what your users are searching for and being relevant and trendy, I think is also very important. So I hope this has given you a bit of a view into how we see the Vietnamese consumer in 2020, and really what's top of mind for the Vietnamese consumer as well. Um, I encourage you, we have a longer version of this report and a more in-depth. If you Google Vietnam year-end search 2020, you can see the full report. I just presented a condensed version. But I hope this has been useful for you. If you're a student in the audience, this is a really exciting time to join to join the workforce and to look ahead to joining the workforce, because classes and like this type of information when I was in school wasn't at my fingertips the same way it is now. If you're a brand and if you're running a startup, the internet is such a powerful marketplace for you to bring products to your consumers, and it's so much more, and e-commerce and everything has become so much more advanced since I kind of began my career. So I'm glad that you guys all attended the marketing summit. I regret not being able to join you guys in person, but I look forward to when I can fly into Ho Chi Minh City or into Hanoi, and hope to see some of you guys in person relatively soon. So thank you so much. All the best, and stay safe for you, your families, and your friends. Cheers.